Hey everyone, okay, so in today's video is going to be a longer video than normal. And the reason being is we're going to be discussing eye shape, eye size, and also what kind of shape the eye is in its entirety. And these are things that aren't really talked about and explained properly on YouTube. And even though I've done numerous videos on different eye shapes, in this one, it's really about the detail in how to work your eye shape. So when you're following on with a video on YouTube, whether it's mine or somebody who's way more talented, you can then use the same colors, but your outcome will be completely different because your eye shape and eye size and eyelid size are different to the person that you're following. And that can make you feel like you're a bit shit because yours didn't come out as beautiful as the YouTuber who's just done it. And there's reasons for that. Your eyelid space, your eyelid size, your eye size, all of those things, and of course your eye shape, all those things go into play. So what I'm going to do before we move into the tutorial is show you some pictures now, and this is going to give you an illustration. But first of all, we're going to use my eye looking directly at you as a really good example before the pictures. So if you look directly into my pretty little eyes. Now, if you just draw around the eye here, what shape is it? It's almond, right? Now, most people's eyes right the way here are almond shaped. So it doesn't really help that much because most people's are. Now, if you look at the eye in its entirety, so around this perimeter, it's still almond, right? So you can see that what I would do with my eye shape is I could bring it out like this, right? Because that makes sense. It's coming out because that's the shape of my eye. But I can radically change the shape of my eye straight away and show you a complete difference. So if I raise my eyebrows, imagine if my eye shape was this. So imagine that that's now my eye shape. It is no longer oval. It is no longer almond, should I say. It is now round. So if I was to try and do a tutorial where I'm bringing it out like this, in that kind of extended motion, it's going to look really, really different to if I'm following it like this, because now my eye is round and I'm trying to create a shape that is unnatural for my eye shape. And that's what people don't realize it really is the most problematic when you're talking about a round eye shape, because oftentimes we want what we don't have. So if we have a very round eye shape, and deep set eyes are often more rounded in general because they're going back into the skull. So if you have a very round eye and you go, oh no, I want an almond eye, I want it to pull out, I want this really cool cat eye, you're changing the shape of your eye in an unnatural way. And it's why I'm really big on following what you have. Like the reason I don't apply mascara to the lower lashes when I'm doing a tutorial for me is because I don't have very many lashes there. And if I apply it, it's going to look like I have hardly any lashes. So I don't want to make a feature out of something that's already not great to begin with. And you need to follow your eye shape. It's so important. It's not that you can't create these gorgeous looks. It's that you have to create them on your face with your eye shape and your eye size. So we're just going to talk about it now with a picture. So here is a picture of a very round eye. Now you can see on the outline I've done here, that's following the shape of the eye. So we can create many different colors and combinations, but that's a round eye. Now, here's what it would look like if we were to exaggerate it and create it in that elongation. Now, can you see how dramatic that suddenly becomes? Because it's an exaggeration of what is there already. So what I mean by that is the eye is round and you're now trying to pretend that it's not. You're now trying to create a shape that is so unnatural to that eye shape that it becomes so extreme. And that isn't always what we want. Even if we want to do a really dramatic eye, we may not want it to be all the way up here. And that's what can happen when we try and distort our own eye shape. Now, generally speaking, when you're doing eyeshadow, unless you have really, really wide set eyes, so Kate Moss would be a really good example of this. She has very wide set eyes. Most people tend to look more beautiful. And what I mean by that is visually to the eye, you go, when their eyes are slightly farther apart. So that's why when we draw around the eye, we tend to extend it more on the outside corner, or we tend to go an exaggeration. So if you've got a round eye, it's more exaggerated in terms of you're coming more outside of the eye, because it gives us a little extra room, giving the illusion that the eyes are farther apart. So these are all those kind of tricks. That's why when we're doing crease work, we don't just go right into the crease, stay directly at the lash line. We want to exaggerate things. So let's show you some more examples. And what we're doing on these examples is we're following the shape of the eye. And you'll notice that each picture is different in terms of the placement, because sometimes you have a very large space to fill. And sometimes the eyebrow, like with my eye, is very short. You can't go up as high because you're going to hit the brow. So there's all these different eye shapes, but the principle is that you're following what you already have naturally. And I cannot stress that enough. It doesn't matter if your favorite makeup guru is creating the most beautiful look you've ever seen. You just want to recreate it on your eye so that it's your look, not their look. Their color combinations, their expertise, but on your face, on your eye shape and your eye size. So if we look at some photos of me, now there you go, that's my face, that's my eye. Now I can't come too far up because I don't have a lot of space between crease and brow. It's very short, so there's only so far that I can come up. And all those things need to be taken into consideration, and it's incredibly easy. If you have a very round eye, if you have an almond eye, if you have a hooded eye, if you have downturned eyes, you're following what you have, but you're always exaggerating this outside corner slightly. So when we move into the tutorial now, what we're going to see is me drawing an eye, and I'm going to talk you through every single aspect, which is why it's a longer video. But as I go through it, you'll notice that I'm going to extend it, because you can see on my eye shape, it's almond. It can be extended without exaggerating it, without creating an unnatural shape to my own eye. Now, if you have a round eye, you're going to follow the roundness of your eye. You're still going to exaggerate the outside corner, but it's still going to be more rounded. And that's all you need to do. You're sketching an eye, you're blending the eye, you're adding any colors that you want. And now, before we move any further, there's no such thing as a day eye and an evening eye and a party eye and a whatever. Doesn't matter, it's whatever makes you happy, whatever you want to go out in the day. Now, I like dramatic eyes, I always have done. I like them to have black coal in the waterline. I don't care if your eyes are really small, I just love it, I love it. And I like to do more eyeshadow. Now, generally speaking with eyeshadow, I tend to favor one single color all over the entire eye and into the crease. Then something very bright and shimmery on any part of the visible eyelid. That tends to be how I prefer to do it. Now, you can use lots of different colors, several in the crease, several on the outside corner. But for this tutorial, we're going to keep it simple with one color all over the entire eye. Then that really bright celestial color on the lid. And there may be a tiny bit of highlight on the inner corner and perhaps a touch on the brow bone. And of course, push liner. So let's make a start on showing you in depth how to create the most beautiful eye for your eye shape and your eye size. Okay, so we're going to get on with the filming aspect of it now. Now, I've been putting this bit off because I've got a bad arm. I've got tennis elbow at the moment, which isn't much fun. And so I've been putting it off, but while I've been putting it off over this past few days, I've been increasing my level of tretinoin, the strength that I'm using. Now my skin is peeling, so you're going to get some really nice, sexy close-up shots of scaly, peeling skin. Okay, so let's make a start. I'm going to use a single palette for this entire tutorial. I'm going to use a Dolce Vita palette because I think it's a really nice palette. Now, let's make a start. When it comes to the eye, we're going to start underneath the eye, as we almost always do. And I like to take the colour, and then on the back of my hand, I just kind of knock off a little bit of it, just so there's not too much on there. And I start underneath the eye. Now, you can make this line as thick or as thin as you want. I want you to see it on this tutorial so that I'm doing it a bit thicker. And also, I'm filming this directly on. A lot of YouTubers, we can film at an angle. It gives the appearance of a much bigger eye. Now, I don't want to do that. I want you to see exactly what it looks like on an eye like mine. So here we go. So this is the lower proportion. Now right here, I'm extending it out about 1 millimeter past the natural outside corner of my eye. And this bit's really important. Right here, you've got to make sure that it's filled in. It has to be filled in with color. There can't be a break. So you want to make sure you fill it in. Now, you're following your eye shape. Very important. So this is where I think 90% of people go wrong. As they start to do crease work, they go up into the crease here. Now, if, for example, I went up here into my crease, what you blend extends both up and out. Now, if I start, I'm just going to put a dot, right? I'll wipe it off in a second. If I start there, well, by the time I blended it, it's going to be up here, and I don't want that. It's too much. So what I want you to do, if you can, please, is from this little extra millimeter that I've just done, I want you to follow your socket, the actual socket itself, so that when you open your eye, it should almost be invisible. You might see a little corner of it, but the majority of it is gone. So you're following your own socket line. Now that's easier said than done because some of you won't have a socket line. And for those of you, you already know that it's incredibly problematic. You're going to have to draw on a fake socket. And blending that is very problematic because if skin moves, and I'm going to assume that for a lot of women or men over the age of probably 50, they're going to have a lot of skin movement, and it can be problematic, and it's going to take some practice, and it's going to take some time. Now remember, we're following the shape of our eye. And it is really important that you follow the shape of your eye. If it's round, go round. And if it's more oval, then go oval. So I'm now going to fill in the rest of this eyelid with that same color. The whole thing, I'm just going to fill it all in. Because why not? I like to do one single color all over the eye, blend it out, and then put something really pretty on any part of the lid that's visible. So at this particular moment, this isn't a particularly flattering eye shape to me, but because we haven't blended it yet. And as I mentioned, what we blend will extend, it will come up and out if we so choose. So rather than starting the crease color here, we're starting it much lower down, we've got somewhere to go. Now, you can use a tissue for this next bit if you want a more elongated eye and it's going to suit your eye shape. Or you can use this, which is what I use. It's an Alexis Vogel Shadow Shaper. They're both the same thing, but I really like this because it reminds me of her. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this product. Let me just refocus just in case. Just better safe than sorry. Okay, so what I'm going to do is lay this on the outside corner of my eye. Now, it's really important when you place this or a tissue on that outside corner that you don't lift the eyebrow first. You must place it when it's at rest, and it must end at the tail of the brow here. Now all I'm going to do is take the brush into the eyeshadow, and I'm going to move it in a back and forward motion until it hits this shadow shield, or this shadow shaper should I say. And you can see, I hope, that the colour is starting to move up now, which is why we didn't start high up to begin with, because then it's going to hit the brow. Now at this point, I want you to look straight ahead in the mirror, and with the eye open, decide how far you want to take it out. But I would err on the side of caution. And make sure that you just go under so that you're connecting these outside corners. The other thing to mention here is don't press too hard here because you're going to leave an indentation and that can take some time to go. So just hold enough pressure that it's in place. And remember, you can do back and forward or circular motions. Just extend it a little bit. This is what kind of brings an eye together. Take that away and you're going to be left with an elongated eye, and now it's much higher up here because we blended. But we're not done yet. We're not done. Now, if we want to make this more intense, we absolutely can. We could go back in, following our crease line. That's our own crease line. And just add a second go of color, just to further add intensity, and just blend that out softly. And don't forget, you're coming underneath. You want to connect the eye. Now I like to then take anything that's on my brush, just get rid of it on the back of my hand. And now I'm just going to think about, with almost no pressure, just kind of feathering it out slightly. Okie dokie. So what we're going to do next is, now I've done a full tutorial on how to do push liner, but I'm going to pop some into the lash line so we get a bit of definition. Then we're going to brighten up the eye. Okay, so I've added some definition at the lash line. Now every day is a kohl pencil day for me, so I will be adding that to the lower lash line, but it's totally optional. But you know, why would you not? Now I'm going to take the Celestial shade in this palette, and I'm going to use this on my finger because they're always made for finger application. And I'm just going to apply that to my eyelid because my eyelid is visible. Therefore, it's just going to give this really pretty sparkle to the eye. And I just like it. I think it's really, really I just think it's such a pretty look, Celestial shades. And you can use as little or as much if you have no visible eyelid. It's up to you. You can put it on the crease if you want. It's totally up to you. It's just makeup. Okay, so what I'm going to do is clean up a little bit underneath the eye, and then we'll start to think about the finishing touches. So if you wanted to, you could clean up the brow bone with a tiny bit of concealer, or you could add a shimmer shade if you want to. Totally up to you. If you find that this is too much underneath, you could just take it up and you could just move underneath the eye with a little bit of concealer. I quite like it a little bit dark and smoky, that outside corner, but each to their own. So if you want to use a little bit of shimmer, now would be the time. And I'm just going to take a really small amount, and I'm just going to apply it just a tiny touch to the tear duct, and a really small amount right here at the brow bone. But you can go whatever you want. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to put a kohl liner into the waterline, do some mascara, and then we'll talk. Okay, so I've got some mascara on. Now I hope you can see what I did with this tutorial, in that I enhanced my eye shape by making it slightly wider by bringing the color up when we blended, but making the eye slightly longer by elongating it just a fraction. And it's given it a more pulled apart look. And that is complementary to my eye shape. Now, if your eye, as I mentioned, is very round, you're going to want to go more round. It doesn't mean you can't bring it out. You can do whatever you want. It's just makeup. But if you're trying to take an eye that's that shape and making it this shape, it's going to look very, very dramatic. And that may be something that you want, or it may not. It's your choice and your decision. But this is complementary to my eye shape. And I just want to reiterate, if I'd just gone directly in with a crease brush and gone into my crease, the size of the brush would have meant the color was already up into that crease. So when I start to blend it with a clean brush, it's going to be up here to my eyebrow. Now, you may also decide that you want there to be, that it's not quite so, that it joins softer. And you can do that. We can do that now. And all you're going to do is take your shield, your guideline, and now all I'm going to do is, with that same brush, I'm going to take the edge and I'm actually going to blend it up here so that it joins here. Now this will give you a contoured eye. And then right here at the brow, I'm extending it, but I'm doing it with less pressure, so that there's less of a divide between the brow bone and the crease. And that may be a look that you would prefer, where it's now softer here because there's less brow bone, but it's more contoured. And if you're going to do this kind of look, this is where you would then join in with the contouring of the nose, because you've now got the shading here and then you go all the way down. But it's entirely up to you, but the principle stays the same. I hope you found this useful. Hope you found it educational. Hope you share it. But mostly, I do hope that you just got something out of it, because this is a much longer video. But I just wanted to kind of pinpoint some of the things that you can do to, you know, to enhance what you have. And that's really what it's about, just enhancing what you have, taking what nature gave you and just going out there making the bloody most of it, because that's all that matters. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye.